Hello, welcome back to Kaylee Daily. Today's question is, how do you build mental resiliency for birth and postpartum?
This is Kaylee Daily, the bi-weekly podcast about all things doula tips and tits, where we answer one question about pregnancy, labor, postpartum, or lactation in order to have your journey in this parenting world be just a little bit more informed and filled with consent.
Welcome back. I'm Kaylee Harad, and I am super excited today to talk to you about mental resiliency in terms of preparation for labor and birth, and then even the postpartum time. So why I think this is important is that labor and birth has a lot of unknown around it, right? So from honestly your conception through forever as a parent, you have some information, right? You have an ability to be educated. You have an ability to learn about the process, to have decisions and thoughts and opinions about the process, but you do not have control over all the aspects. And you don't have all the information of how it will go, right? And that can be really hard. And so when I talk about mental resiliency, it's kind of centered in that space of the unknown aspects of these things, right? So I want to talk a little bit about what does that look like for different people, and how do I think you can start to harness that, right? So sometimes folks are more controlling than others. I don't really love the labels of like, I'm type A personality, et cetera, et cetera. However, if I were to label myself, that would be the label that I would probably use. I do like to control things, and I like to know what's going to happen and have a game plan for that, right? Some of that is a trauma response, honestly, like being able to control my environment and be ready for things that might happen, right? But also, I think it is a personality thing of like wanting to be the one kind of in charge of myself, right? And you can ask my mom. I think that started at like, roughly 7 months or so when I was a baby. Just like, I think one of my first words or phrases was screaming myself, like I want to do things on my own, right? But what that means is that I sometimes have a really hard time with twists and turns that I was not expecting in my own body, my own life, right? And then also, it's sometimes hard for me to let people in to support me because I'm so used to supporting myself. Pardon my random noises. I'm so used to supporting myself that I don't always do a great job of even communicating the need for support, right? So, maybe you're similar to that, maybe not. But some folks are more flexible naturally, right? They're more naturally kind of go with the flow. And the fact that they don't know what's going to happen is exciting and great, right? And that comes more naturally to them, right? So then for someone who is more I almost said rigid, but I'm not going to use that word. For someone who is similar to what I describe myself as, someone who wants to have a game plan, right? Wants to kind of have thought through some of the twists and turns. One of the mental resiliency things is to release the fact that you have to know how it's going to go. And I don't say that lightly because I personally know how hard that is, right? But I think some ways we can practice that as people is things like imagining how it will go, right? So imagining a beautiful, wonderful, lovely birth. And I don't want you to try to think through all the possible hangups. I have so many noises happening today. I don't want you to think through all the possible hangups in a birth. Okay. Because it's not helpful to try to imagine all the different emergency situations, et cetera. It's also not possible to do that. Okay. So what I mean when I say that is imagine like you're having a lovely, wonderful birth. And you maybe like aren't quite sure what to do next, right? Or things like that, like those smaller, more tangible moments that are not traumatic, they're not emergent, they're honestly, they're a part of every single birth, in my humble opinion. So it's almost a guarantee that you'll have a moment that you'll be like, oh, I'm not sure what to do in this moment. I don't know. Should I go that way or this way? Should I do this or that? Even just small things like, I don't like this position, but I don't know what position to do next. Right. And so imagining some of those things and letting yourself be okay with not knowing what to do next. And that is hard sometimes. Okay. So one of the small steps is doing that, like just kind of imagining, like, okay, what if I'm in a position, I'm like, I hate this position, but I don't know what to do. Can I just be okay with the fact that I don't know what to do? And then also think about, who do you want to support you in that time, right? Like, how do you want your partner or your doula or your care team to help you through that moment of unknown, right? Now, on the flip side, if you tend to be a person that kind of goes with the flow a little bit better, you might need to have a game plan more than you sometimes do, right? And what I mean by that is that going with the flow, excuse me, I still have a little dryness from my cold. So what I mean by that is that going with the flow is easier when the flow is lovely, right? Going with the flow is a little bit harder when the flow is hard. And I say that as a person who doesn't go with the flow all the time, super easily personally, which is interesting, right? Because I do this work and like help people go with the flow, but I need my own doula for all kinds of personal things, I think. um, but I think imagining what it looks like to have a game plan, and not just like we're going to take it as it comes, but also we're going to have a plan to help that flow be well supported and well educated, right? Now, what does it look like in the moment? Okay. So that's kind of what I would say in terms of preparation for that resiliency. And this is, of course, like an incredibly short, sweet synopsis of this, like not thoroughly diving into this topic. But I want you to think about, in the moment, how to freak out about something and then get past it. And I know that maybe sounds really crazy, right? But like, let's say you're in labor. I'm trying to think of an example. Let's say you're in labor and you have an unexpected pain. And that pain is not labor related. Okay. So it's like in your leg or in your neck or something like that. Right. And it can kind of throw you off if you're expecting a contraction and you have a contraction, but you also have some other kind of pain happening at the same time. And so taking a minute to evaluate, like, how do you freak out about that kind of stuff, right? Do you like get silent? Do you like need some time to breathe? Do you need some alone time? Do you like kind of throw a fit a little bit? Like, and I don't say that in a negative way. Do you need to like yell and curse and things like that? Like, what does it look like for you? And how do you get yourself through that? Because that is, I think, a coping thing for all of life, but especially in labor, when twists and turns happen in the midst of a really intense thing that you're doing, then it can be hard to work through that because you have contractions still happening, right? And so I kind of think of it as like having some preparation where you've done some of that like thoughtful work on your own of even noticing in yourself how you work through that stuff, how you get from a freak out of a freak out, like all of those kinds of things. But then also bringing the people into your team for both birth and postpartum that can help you get through that freak out. And I say this so seriously. I think I've had 5 births maybe out of the like nearly 100 at this point that have not had this freak out moment. Okay. So it happens. And then also in postpartum, right? And you need people to support you through that. But you also need to believe that you can get through it. Does that make sense? I'm asking you a question, like you can answer me, and I'd like for you to answer me. I'd love for you to leave a comment or send me a message on Instagram, because I think that this is a really important topic to discuss. So that's all for today, because I don't want to have this episode be insanely long, and I could talk about this for a really long time. But I do want you to think about it some, and then send me some questions. I'd love to do some kind of like follow-up episodes on this topic, because it is such a huge part of just life, right? But especially in birth and postpartum. And so I'd love to answer specific questions around it if there are some, so that I can help you kind of dive into it a little bit more in a more personal way. So as a reminder, this is information and entertainment. It's not medical advice. And I do answer one question on each of these episodes. And so I would love to hear your questions. The other thing that's happening right now, if you're listening to this when it was produced and came out on April 20th, then you know that I have a postpartum class that goes live in May, and it is currently on pre-sales. And it's diving into all different things that people don't normally go into in postpartum classes, and things that I think are really important to know, kind of the nitty-gritty of the postpartum time. So information about that is in the show notes, as well as the Birth Prep Blueprint, which is what hosts this show. I know that you've heard that. If you have been around for a little bit, then that is the class that you have a discount code for in the show notes. So please check that out if you're looking for education. You like how I'm teaching and what I talk about. And then shoot me a message so that I know what questions you want me to answer next. Okay, I'll see you on the next episode.
If you're enjoying this episode, please do comment, like, subscribe, and share it with your pregnant friends. If you are interested in the Birth Prep Blueprint, the 10% off code is in the show notes. These episodes are edited and produced by Kaylee Harrod, as I'm sure you can probably tell. And our amazing music is credited in the show notes as well. So we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. And in the meantime, have wonderful and consent-filled births.